We may stand behind the brands we endorse, but we also need to hold them accountable. 100% agree with Allyson Felix, one of the most decorated Olympians in the world we've ever seen. And she held Nike accountable for their treatment of women, specifically surrounding pregnancy pay during the time where women choose to have children, even if they are endorsed and sponsored professional athletes. At the time, Nike wanted to pay Allyson 70% less following the birth of her daughter. 70% less. The truth is, women battle changed perception for our value and our performance the second we choose to possibly have a child, and that's wrong for any profession. How many times as athletes, especially black athletes, are we told to just shut up and dribble, just run, just do your job, know your place? But you can't change anything with silence.
Like so many of us, I was told to know my place. But here I am, ready to run for a brand that I founded.
So Allyson spoke up and out against Nike because, like she said, I've been one of Nike's most widely marketed athletes. If I can't secure maternity protections, who can? And change things she did.
I surround my soul with the positivity. That's why I don't worry about the things that I don't see. Yeah. These days I don't worry about much. I think we should have some more fun. I still dream about the days when we were young. I'll take a hit and still finish in one.
What's going on, everybody? It's your girl TJ back with another video, Talks with TJ, aka TJ Two Shoes Change. Thank you guys again so much for tuning in to another video. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. I truly appreciate it. Two Shoes crew, what is going on? Now, this video will be a little bit different because I thought it important to touch on the entire situation from back then in 2018 until now 2021, because Saysh launched, and I really feel it's important. It's major, and not many other channels or content creators in this space may touch on it. So I'm excited to, not just as a lifelong fan of Allyson since she began running and as a former track athlete myself, but also as a woman that participated in sports and is very heavily invested in sneakers. It's a culmination of the perfect storm for me to be invested in. So without further ado, let's dive right into what happened. Allyson was Allyson, poised, humble, legendary. No, really, like, she is one of the most decorated Olympians of all time and tied for top spot of female decorated Olympian. What wasn't she doing in track? I mean, I think back to 2012 and 2016, and those were monumental. They were amazing to watch. So for most of 2018 during the competitive season, she actually ran while pregnant, but suffered complications near the very end of her pregnancy, which a lot of women do, which actually forced an emergency C-section, and that brought us the birth of such an adorable little girl, Candrian, November 2018. Shout out to all the November babies out there. Like myself, I'm a tad bit biased there. But then she was faced with the pressure and the very illogical stress to get back into competitive professional running shape, while also navigating being a mother now and her daughter still in the hospital and now under contract negotiations as well, because Nike refused to negotiate around the specific term of maternity protection. She said, hey, brand new mom, my body is bouncing back. Look what it just went through. She had a whole child, but she dealt with what a lot of women deal with. You are then put on this clock that is so out of this world to not only return to the exact performance you were, but if you don't within a very short amount of time, your pay will be cut, and no protections are provided around that. Negotiations broke down. They went absolutely nowhere, and Nike and her were done. So what changed? Well, it took Nike fumbling the bag of Allyson herself to open their eyes that maybe things needed to change. Now, that was backed up by Allyson's strength actually encouraging her teammates to speak out on what they faced. And please be aware, they broke non-disclosure agreements to voice their grievances and tell the truth of the pressure and the inequities they were dealing with as female-sponsored athletes by these big brands, especially around maternity. Now, yes, things changed. Nike updated their contractual policy to include pregnancy pay protection, specifically around an 18-month period when a woman is pregnant and immediately after giving birth. And Allyson, always graceful, always humble, applauded Nike for seeing they needed to change and taking action. And there were other big brands that followed suit as well. But I'll be honest, it should have never gotten to this point whatsoever. Women face inequality, fighting to have a voice and true support from brands. So Allyson created her own brand, Saysh.
So here I am. I know my place.
Major news broke as Saysh launched this week. Founded by Allyson, and her brother Wes is actually at the helm as CEO. Now, unfortunately, they were discouraged from starting this brand, saying, hey, it's just way too competitive in the market and look at what's already out there. And I'm extremely happy they didn't listen to whoever discouraged them from this. They were still able to raise $3 million to get the ball rolling. And if you're wondering, like, what does Saysh even mean? Well, glad you asked. You didn't, but I'm going to tell you. I reached out to the family because I know the name is important. A name is never just haphazard. It has a meaning behind it. And yes, Saysh absolutely has a meaning behind it. Saysh is a type of wave that restores balance in enclosed bodies of water. Pressure makes water go to one side, and the wave, or Saysh, makes the water balanced again. The purpose of Saysh is to restore that balance, and that's exactly what this company looks to do for women in all spaces they operate in, such as sports and sneakers. Saysh embodies hope, acceptance, and the power to create change by women for women, and that's exactly what is there with Saysh. And powerful women, that's an understatement, because head of product for Saysh, Tiffany Beers, and yes, I mean that Tiffany Beers, like sneaker genius Tiffany Beers, who is the reason we have the Nike Air Mag as a grail, the Yeezy One, and then also the tech behind the Hyper Adapt. And their very first release, their very first launch, the Saysh One. So now we get into the kicks. The Saysh One is the very first lifestyle sneaker offered by the brand, and there's much more to come. But with this pair, it has every intention of being that go-to shoe for you to wear, especially as a woman, because yes, it's in women's exclusive sizing. That's what it is, letting you know that up front. And it's designed to contour to a woman's foot, because if you're not aware, our feet are actually more narrow in the back heel, but we are wider in the forefoot, and a lot of shoes don't cater to that. It's more designed typically for a man's foot versus a woman's foot, so I'm a fan of this. Now, the Saysh One will come in 3 different colorways, and you can pre-order them right now, and they're expected to ship in September. Yes, my pre-order is in for the white pair, and it is advised that you go up half a size, and I looked at the size chart and chose an 8 instead of my typical 7.5, so I believe that will fit better. It's meant to have a snug fit, so for just that comfortable lifestyle fit, I would absolutely say go up half a size. It's made with textile for the upper and then a micro suede, and the design inspiration for this sneaker, if you pay attention to the pictures, is actually a physical track, but then a women's wrapped dress, because if you've ever seen a woman in a wrapped dress, it contours everything to bring out the femininity that is there present in that woman, and I think that is amazing. It's certainly unique and different from what we've seen from other sneakers, and so that I really appreciate. Now again, more is coming on the way, because there will be a follow-up to the Saysh One, and I'm really interested to see what that will be. But aside from just the sneakers in themselves, because that's really used as symbolism, as part of the entire meaning behind Saysh and it being a way for us to bounce back, you're going to bounce back from things that are going on in life, and the sneaker will provide that bounce, that rebalance. Hopefully that all made sense. But why is this so monumental in terms of women, sports, and sneakers? Number one, ownership, especially when it comes to sports and athletes. These athletes dedicate their entire lives, especially if you're an Olympian, you're training, you are giving everything you have for one chance every 4 years that comes around. And when you think about the fact that, yes, they are sponsored by these brands and companies, but that means they're also building for them. And they may not even have equity in what they're building. So ownership is amazingly special and it's key. And I think that's what more athletes should strive for. Want ownership in whatever it is that you're helping to build and establish, not just for someone else, but for yourself. Renee Montgomery just spoken amazingly on that as a co-owner of the Atlanta Dream. But moving beyond that, similar to Steph Curry starting the Curry brand, Allyson now has equity. And having equity means you can indeed affect change. And that leads to number 2, create the change you want to see. And for women, that is something that we have to take upon ourselves to do. It would be awesome if the world were equal, but it is not. And Allyson has admitted that she's no longer just a person. She's no longer just a woman, just a daughter. She's no longer just a wife. She's no longer a sister. It's no longer just, oh, I'm a track star, I'm an Olympian. No, she's a mom now. She's a mother. And she has to think, what type of world is Cameron growing up in? What part do I play in shaping that world? And can I do something to change it for the better, to make it better for not only her, but any other woman? She can be a voice, and she's not afraid to be that voice right now. She really has become an agent of change, and I think that's amazing. And what she's building with Saysh, it's about community, it's about connecting, and it's about effectively creating change that we weren't able to see before because no one else was taking on that responsibility, or more so the accountability to do that. Which would also lead into number 3, which I think is important, because when we talk about sneakers, this is a recurring conversation for athletes that we say we really support and we're all about, and they have captured our attention in so many ways, especially even when they're with these big brands. It's usually when we are exposed to them. If they're with a Nike and Adidas or Reebok, a Puma, awesome. Now the athlete has broken apart from a bigger brand to have their own brand. So I think this is the perfect opportunity for us as consumers to show that, hey, the love, the dedication, the loyalty is absolutely there for a good product that is produced by an athlete that we support. Because just looking first glance at the sneaker, I wanted it. And I was also really honed in on whatever spike she was wearing during the Olympic trials. I just couldn't pinpoint, of course, like what brand, was that? What is she wearing? But it makes perfect sense now. It was her own brand, Saysh. And another conversation that is constantly brought up in sneakers, why aren't there more, women-owned brands or women-owned sneaker companies that are out there and available? And now you have that. So it is for women, designed by women, with Tiffany and a multitude of other women on the team. So you can't ask for more. It's a classic. Like, starting with the lifestyle sneaker, I think was extremely smart. I think that's a great way to show that they read the market, because right now lifestyle is all the wave. It really is. And as people are slowly getting back into the world, I think women especially will want a sneaker they can transition from a more casual leisure look, because that's what we've been so used to, maybe to something that is a little bit more business casual, maybe even pushing more towards wearing a dress. But can you get away with the sneaker in the office at the same time? I think you absolutely can. And I think Saysh may provide that. So all in all, I am extremely excited. I'm so happy for Allyson, her husband, her brother, just the entire family, that entire group around her that believed in her. They didn't, when you had people telling you don't do this or this, there's just too much competition. You're telling an Olympian there's too much competition? Are you kidding me? Like, that's what she is. Like, that's what she does. She competes. And I don't mean like, oh, like I go grind every day. Like, no, you are really competing to show and prove that you are the best in the world. And there is new talent that pops up every single day because people are working hard to get that spot. And she is still there. She is still she'll always be one of the most decorated athletes of all time, but I just find that so crazy that people were saying, oh, it's just, sneakers, it's just a really competitive market. yeah, she's a really competitive woman, and we will see that sneaker when it ships out in September. So again, the Saysh One, I will put the link in the description for you all to check it out. Please, I need to know your thoughts about just everything. What occurred in 2018 during contract negotiations, the fact that Saysh is now, it's launched, it's there. I think this is major. I think it will be really interesting to see how things continue to move forward. And will this also empower other athletes, especially Black athletes, to take it upon themselves to create their own brand? Steph Curry did it, and I thought it was amazing. Now Allyson's done it, and I'd be curious to see what other top athlete will do the same. So thank you guys again so much for tuning into this video. I know it was a little bit different, and I thought about holding off on this until I actually have the shoe in hand, but no, the launch of Saysh is extremely important and needed to be talked about today. So as always, act your age, not your shoe size. Peace out.